Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and today we are joined by the New York Times best-selling author, Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. His much-anticipated second book, Chain Gang All-Stars, was just released last week, and it is so good. The book takes on mass incarceration, capitalism, and entertainment through imagining a world where those convicted of the most brutal crimes can fight each other to the death to earn their freedom. Chain Gang All-Stars is a powerful, satirical indictment of systemic racism, unfettered capitalism, and the United States prison system. I have no doubt that this novel will be one of the best things I read all year. And if Nana's name sounds familiar to you, it's because he's been on the Stacks before. Back in 2019, we featured his short story collection, Friday Black, as a Stacks book club pick. Today, Nana and I talk about the pressure of a second book, ambition in storytelling, and using writing to uncover what the writer truly believes. Remember, our May book club selection is This Boy We Made, a memoir of motherhood, genetics, and facing the unknown by Taylor Harris. We will discuss the book on May 31st with Nicole Chung. Quick reminder, everything we talk about on each episode of The Stacks can be found in the link in the show notes. And if you love The Stacks and you want more of it, like our incredible community on Discord, bonus episodes, monthly virtual book club meetups, you must join the Stacks Pack on Patreon. It is just $5 a month. You get all of that and more, and you get to know that you're helping to make this podcast possible every single week. Head to patreon.com/thestacks and join us now. I want to give a quick shout out to our newest members of the Stacks Pack: Jessica Daly, Emma Shaw, Jose Oliveras, Heather M., and Kristen Johnson. Thank you all so much, and thank you to the entire Stacks Pack. And now it's time for my conversation with Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. All right, everybody, I am so excited. I have a returning guest to the podcast. He is the author of Friday Black, a book we did on the Stacks for Book Club, a book that he came to the show to talk about in 2019. And now he's back with his debut novel, his second book, Chain Gang All-Stars. Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. 5 years later, Stacks is as strong
reunited.
as ever.
We're reunited.
Amazing.
Okay, I wasn't going to start here, but I am going to start here. In the book, there is a character named whose name is Stacks, and she has a Stacks pack. And I need to know if that was a nod to the Stacks podcast and the Stacks pack on Patreon. It was the first note I took. I was like, I got to ask about that.
That's amazing. It is not. What is it? What is the stack? The Stacks pack
Stacks Packs is our Patreon community.
Oh, that's like your beehive.
Yeah, exactly. That's my beehive.
No, that's amazing though. But if you want to say it is, if you want to say that's what it is, you can say it. It was not.
Say.
I I had been writing it. It's like 7. So I was writing this book before Friday Black came out. I thought it was going to be a story in Friday Black. So I had some of the earlier chapters as even 7 years ago.
Okay,
damn. But that's amazing still.
We're going to tell people in the Stacks Pack it's definitely about you. Don't worry. Okay, but let's go back to the beginning. In about 30 seconds or so, will you just tell folks about Chain Gang All-Stars?
Chain Gang All-Stars is about an imagined future in which convicted wards of state can opt out of a sentence of at least 25 years and participate in death matches. If they survive 3 years in this sort of circuit of this blood sport, they are given the chance to be free. They give clemency. But really, it's about these two women in particular who are sort of well-established participants called links in these games, and one of them's final weeks as a member of the sport, which is called Chain Gang All-Stars.
Okay. I had a plan about how I wanted to do this, but now that I'm looking at you and talking to you, I'm throwing an audible.
The plan
Your
is
imagination
gone. Yeah.
is fucking unreal, Nana. I mean, I feel like people who read Friday Black, we know this about you, but this book has gone next level. I feel like it's such a maturing of your work. I feel like you have dug in deeper. Somehow it's more political, I feel. I mean, obviously it's a full-length novel, so there's like a lot to get into, which we will. But I want to start with your imagination. How does this stuff come to you? Like, you have these names for what the handcuffs are, and there's like these silencers, and there's a thing, called an influencer, which we'll get to. And I just, like, even the names of the characters, like, it's just so vivid and rich and feels so right on what it should be in the world that you've created. And so I want to know how the world comes to you and then how the little tiny things come to
Yeah.
you.
First off, thank you so much. I think that when you're doing the world building thing, I'm trying to think of who said it. Many people have said it, but I kind of try to like mind my character's business, so to speak. So I think about there were sort of the central beam of the story of the novel, right? So what is going to affect her day to day? There's these handcuffs sort of implanted in her and all people's and chain gang's wrists. So that is a pretty defining element of her life. And so I feel like as a writer, I should have some pretty specific ideas about it because it's not like a normal chain. It's not like a normal handcuff. It's this magnetic thing that was implanted. So I'm like, what's the story behind that? Some company would obviously make it. Someone would profit off of that because that's always a part of the net. That's what I've discovered is very much a part of the carceral everything is profit and who's getting paid for what. And then so just for me, it just becomes not only necessary, but kind of fun to think about the specifics. Okay. Like at one point I remember I was researching the units for magnetism to figure out like how to talk about a stronger or less strong magnet, like 4.2 Teslas versus not, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'll drill in on whatever I think is going to affect her life. And I don't know, how I do that is just by acting as though it's a real thing. What would be like the first paragraph of the Wikipedia page about that object or item? And a lot of times it'll get saved out and not be included in the book, but sometimes it will be included in the book. So I just like to think about what are actually going to affect my characters materially. And sometimes if it's not something that exists in our current world, how can I make it as true to life as possible?
And when you're doing that, because like one of the things that I think is cool in this book is like there's a lot of little details and things that come up that we sort of learn about later. Like, you know, the handcuffs are kind of mentioned and then it's like not exactly clear what it is, right? And then as we get going, it's like, oh, I see. This is a handcuff thing where they can't move and they're locked in. So as a writer and as a storyteller, how are you thinking about kind of explaining your world to us or showing your world to us without just being like, this is a handcuff and it works like this? Like, because you don't really do that.
Except for when sometimes I do, you know, with the footnotes and stuff.
But with the footnotes, it's more like explaining. It's not actually explaining what the thing is. It's explaining like who makes the thing or like. But it wasn't clear. Like I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing, but I still don't exactly understand what the thing is yet. You know what I mean?
For me, it makes sense because I think about like if an alien came to the planet today, even a traditional handcuff, it would be like, what the hell is this? Until it was demonstrated as a restraint tool, right? So I try to have it be if I'm introducing an item to the reader that is not exist and is named, I'll try to have it be demonstrated meaningfully, usually again intersecting with either Thurwa or one of the other main characters in the book. And I feel like some of that instinct for those kind of things kind of comes naturally to me.
Okay.
Or not even to come naturally, it's that I'll think because it takes work to make these things up, right?
Right.
So if I'm going to bother to make something brand new, it's going to be because I needed the world to interact with a character in a specific way that maybe is not exactly possible with the current technology available to us in our current life. So usually it's about, okay, I want her to be kept in place right now and easily, like I want her and I need her restraint to be absolute, but I also need her to be really free, right?
Right.
So how can I do that? Okay, there's a switch, you know, it's automated almost, or someone else is controlling it, but it's always there, but it's actually invisible. And that way I get to have my cake and eat it too, for example. So that's just one of many, many, many examples of that kind of thinking.
Yeah. And what I like about your work, and I've always really admired about it, is that while your imagination is really like vivid and you've created all these like things that are scary as fuck, it feels so rooted in this world. And for me, that's really helpful because it allows me to imagine a lot of more complicated, like it allows me to dig in deeper to kind of what the point of the book is instead of being stuck on the science fiction of it, right? Like I'm like, okay, I can keep going into the commentary on the carceral system because I'm not stuck on the technology of the handcuff, right? And I guess like back to where I was planning on starting, I want to know about audience for you because this book is I mean, I think I've said this before. I think it's one of the most ambitious books I've read in a really long time. You're taking on the carceral system. You're taking on, gender dynamics, sexuality. You're taking on capitalism, racism, like more specifically in capitalism, the entertainment industry. Like you're taking on so much. And so I'm wondering how you're thinking about audience as you're writing, and also like how much you trust your audience.
It's such an interesting question. And the question of audience, I feel like we're off the authors or writers or like often asked to think about that. And I bet if you went through all the times I've been asked, my answer probably changes like every time. Because it's really hard to say, because you in the actual process of writing has so many phases. There's the initial idea, inception. There's the execution of trying to execute a first draft. And then for me, the meat of it is really through the revision, going through it over and over again. Right. And in each of those stages, you might have a slightly different person in mind, if there is even a particular person at all. For me, I try to imagine a slightly funnier, smarter, cooler version of myself, that would be entertained, but also really desires with their entertainment to feel like they're becoming a better, more complete person as that's happening as well. And so if I broaden that out, of course, I'm interested in I'm from a place called Spring Valley, Rockland County. I was born in Queens. And so I'm interested in kids who maybe are not always pushed into like quote unquote literary spaces, feeling like they can feel seen and represented in their work. So for sure that's there. I'm also interested in people who feel like the world could be a lot better, giving us space to imagine a world that's much worse and get to like flex that imaginative muscle. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in people who, in this book in particular, who know like the shonen manga anime thing, because there's some of that action orientated thing there, but also knowing that to have action and engagement, you don't have to sacrifice intellectual viability. I don't know, whatever. Right. But so it's a lot of different people. And really anybody who's open to the idea that the world could change, I think. And so it's pretty broad, but I think materially, in terms of trust, I really think about trust. I think about generosity. Mm-hmm. I try my best as a reader. I just did the Times thing, like the Times by the book thing.
Oh, exciting.
And yeah, it's weird to get to do that kind of thing. There's so many things you get exposed to. And I'm so used to people I look up to doing those things. And I'm always sort of.
And now you're a person like that. That's
extremely humbled to get a chance to, someone let me do it. So, hey, but they ask like it seems like a simple question. Oh, for you, what's what makes a book bad? Mm. And I really like to, I think this is like the teacher in me. I really like to put a lot of qualifiers on that. And I did it in my answer. And I was like, well, first off, we have to define what bad is, because what to me might seem like imprecision might be like a beautiful whimsy to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And for someone might feel like long-windedness or whatever, might be, careful, cool discourse that is wandering and meandering artfully, whatever. Everyone got their taste. I think I know what I like.
Right.
And so that's why I said, and I'm sort of forced to think in that lens. And so, but I also try to think of myself as a reader that's pretty generous and can see the beauty in what other people are doing, even if it's not exactly like what I'm trying to do. But yeah, so for me, it's just a smarter, cooler, awesomer version of myself, I think, today.
So as we're talking, your book isn't quite out in the world yet, but it will be soon. And you have gone through the experience of putting a book in the world. Now it's your second book. Do you have different trepidations around audience response than maybe you did the first time around, now that you know better or know more? Because this book is for people who are into abolition and into saying fuck the system, this book is very much our bread and butter. But for people who aren't quite there yet, this book is definitely is going to push people's buttons for sure. You can't read this book and not think and feel and look at yourself in some way and be like, am I contributing to this kind of stuff? So I'm just wondering, no, and I know you know that because you wrote it, and you don't write something this chesty and not expect people to get mad about it.
I appreciate you saying that you think that that's the case, because that means a lot to me, actually. I hope that that's the feeling. I feel more the opposite. I'm more worried, or if I have a trepidation or a fear, I'm more afraid of the people who are already in these spaces feel as though I didn't do a good service to the cause of abolition. Personally, because if someone, I don't know, if some the people, I feel like that discomfort that you're describing, if someone feels that discomfort, I hope that means I'm doing exactly what I need to do. And maybe the initial response might be a rejection, but hopefully eventually a seed might be planted. Something could be felt meaningfully. But if I was imprecise or wasn't somehow failed to describe what some people just feel is like a useful description of potential pitfalls of our current system or the possibilities of what we could do better, that feels a little bit sadder to me, I guess. But either way, there's so many versions of terror that come with putting a book out into the world. So, pick your pick your
we swear here, it's okay.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say pick your fucking poison, because you're gonna feel trepidation no matter what. And it's a terrifying thing. I don't know if it's because I'm noticing it more because I have a book coming out, but just today I saw a second article about all the anxiety and distress authors have that are when they're debuting. And then some people are like, you think debuting is bad? Wait till you put out a second book. And
I just saw that tweet.
Yeah, I think it was Matt Bell. Shout out to Matt Bell.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, is this like some kind of synchronicity happening with me right now? Because I talk about that stuff as well. It's challenging. But yeah, there's a million things to be scared and feel trepidation about. But to be honest, when it comes to the actual book, I feel like I really gave my best swing. And so on some levels, I'm cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like about like knowing, like I can feel in my body I gave my best swing. And I know that I do sort of try. I'm for the fences, you know what I'm saying? Like I try hard. And I think I only feel engaged by projects that feel a little bit beyond me, especially at the inception period.
Yeah.
And so I feel sort of sometimes when I feel whole and full, I feel okay because like I did something that 5 years ago, like we talked about, was impossible then,
Right.
It was impossible. Yeah. There's no way I could have pulled it off then. And somehow, tooth and nail, through pandemic, through a whole bunch of other sad stuff that happened, the book, we're talking about it now. So that's what I try to rest in. But yeah, I'd be scared of shit about a lot of shit.
When I finished the book, the analogy I made for it, because it is ambitious, and like, and I know you'll appreciate this, like it's not perfect, and no book or piece of work ever is. But what I said is that I felt like you are the Simone Biles. Like the level of difficulty that you're pulling off is just so much higher than the competition or whatever, quote unquote. Yeah. That like even a part where I was like, I don't know. I was like, this question, me even questioning this is like thrilling because I'm getting to think about something that I just have not been able to. So I think like you're saying swinging for the fences is 1,000%. I could feel that in reading the book. I was like, it's not 10 out of 10 anymore. It's like 11 out of 10. Like we have to change the scoring system. Scorecard. Yeah, it just, I mean, it's like, it's so rare that I read a novel and I like feel that energy from the author of like, this author is saying something or like doing something and it's hard for them and it's hard for me and like we're in it together in a way. So I just really,
it's very kind for me. It hits it hits like my personality type's like exact desire, because I do try like live wire acts, I do try like no net beneath me things. And it's just how I feel engaged. And I mean, obviously like Simone Biles makes it extra nice because she's like my GOAT in that sport.
Yeah.
But
everyone.
I just saw people being really mean to her on Twitter. And I'm like, you guys are getting nasty on this internet for no reason. Like people are insane. Like I literally just a second ago, like people like be like, oh, you could literally be, they're mad about her hair. I don't know what they're mad about, something. But anyways.
Always.
It's like, dude. She's flipping in there 4 times and landing perfect.
Quads in the air.
She's flipping there 4 times.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it means a lot to me because like, Also, like people know that I am a student of George's, but also there's other people like in that vein who are trying to do something really, really different. And what I feel, I guess, most proud of is that I think that between my two books, I have a style. I have like that's observable. And like if you didn't like you could see like, oh, it's hard to name it because there's a lot of things that include it, but part of it is like a formal, structural, and like sentence level ambition.
Yeah. 1,000%.
That's very kind. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, good. I'm glad because I could feel it. Okay, this is where I was gonna start for real, which is the like actual content of the book. I was gonna talk to you about that first, but I got.
I like that start. I like the start you got.
I did too. But now let's talk about mass incarceration and all the like themes that are going on. So my big question, and I think it's the big question of the book, and I want to know what you think about it, Nana, not the author who's telling a story, because I think those are two sort of different roles that you have.
For sure.
How do you feel about earning redemption through the same behavior? Because that's the kind of the central question is, can you earn redemption as a person who is incarcerated for 25 years plus? Most of them are murderers in this book. A few are rapists. Some are both. I guess I shouldn't call them that. People who have committed murder, people who have raped people. I don't know, whatever, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And they're being asked to kill other people as a way to atone and appease the public as entertainment. And if in doing so, they are redeemed, they become beloved, and eventually, if they pull it off for 3 years, they get to become free.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this idea of redemption through unchanged, essentially, behavior?
It's a really good question because, and I think if I even pull it back a little bit, it's like, what do I think about redemption?
Sure.
Generally. Like, do I believe it's possible to atone? I hope so. And do I think that our infrastructures and like sort of societal like push can be behind programs and infrastructures that can facilitate redemption? I do think that's possible. In the case of Chain Gang, do I think that doing the same thing can facilitate redemption? I think it'd be very challenging and maybe like actually counterproductive to the process of redemption. Do I think sitting in a cage, just like to extrapolate from that way, do I think doing nothing or also doing this, harming people in the confines of a weird cages and humans ecosystem, do I think that is a space for people to be redeemed? I think that's very difficult as well.
Yeah. So
for me, I think that asking you that question is really important because I hope that it leads to a sort of that same kind of chain I'm sort of thinking through right now, which I haven't thought of exactly the same way, but you saying it makes me think of it that way. Is like, okay, doing this violence, is that redemptive? Probably not. And like, I think that in some ways, the main characters are trying to find how they can grow beyond their worst moments, even in this context and space that is totally antagonistic to any potential for redemption. Right.
Right.
And so I think that Chain Gang, All Stars, the sport within the book is a sort of an analog or stand-in for our current carceral system. Can people find redemption in this bloody, evil, violent, quote unquote, rehabilitative space we have?
Right.
Yeah, they actually can, and they do. Is it the best thing that we can do as a society? Definitely not.
Right. I mean,
it's a great question.
As I was thinking about that idea of like earning redemption through the same repeated behaviors, and I know that in the book, you mentioned some incredible abolitionists. Friend of the podcast, Miriam Kaba, of course, comes up. And, I think the question also is like, it's not just that these people are being asked to kill, but it's that they're being asked to kill by the government for entertainment. And I think about that when I think about the death penalty. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that an eye for an eye is really that bad necessarily inherently, but I think it's bad when the government asks for that. You know what I mean? And like the difference for me when I think of Chain Gang is like, if these people were like just doing this for fun, I don't know. I maybe wouldn't hate it quite as much as I do because it's the entertainment part of it and the government part of it. So I don't know. I mean, that's the abolitionist part thinking for me is like, who's who's making this happen and for what end?
And also, and like what resources are being diverted into this that could be diverted into something totally else. And like the eye for the eye thing, the reason why we even use that tale is that everyone ends up blind. Like that's the whole point of it, right?
Right.
Now everyone's blind. Now we're fucked.
Right.
That's like the whole like idea behind that. And so so like what do we do with people who cause suffering? And it's like for me, and I also think for me it's important to like note that I think in some ways writing Chain Gang All Stars was me like trying to discover if I was an abolitionist actually.
What did you discover?
I think I thought I was and hoped I was. And then I found that I absolutely am. I found out that I was sort of horrified by the reality actually. I think I think I would be an abolitionist just off the lack of efficacy of like how ineffective prison is. Just off of that. Besides the myriad of actual moral, ethical issues that I think it causes,
right, and
facilitates. I think it's also like not effective.
It doesn't work.
Its efficacy is low.
Yeah.
So, and actually, it's counterproductive. I think there's no better marker for someone going to prison than if they've already gone to prison before. Like it's terrible. Let alone we know it's super racist statistically and proven to be. We know it's the LGBTQIA plus community is particularly targeted. We know the trans community is particularly targeted. We know that women are particularly targeted. We know that most people incarcerated suffer from mental health problems or addiction or poverty or probably a combination of all those things. And the fact of prisons allows us to not give a fuck about those real actual issues and gives us a place to throw people instead of addressing the actual like societal thing that we are all implicated in, which are these like big things like poverty and addiction and mental health. And so there's more issues morally that bother me, but yeah, I believed it, but I wanted to feel like based in like facts. And then doing some of the research I've done, whether it's Kaba or Angela Davis or Ruth Wilson Gilmore, or going to like the prison they got in Philly, the museum, and thinking of and knowing that we incarcerate more people per capita than anyone else here in the land of the free. Eye roll / sarcastic grin. And it's just it's kind of it doesn't work, and it also is it bookends our culture in death, just like the military does. And I think that's a really bad, I feel like us being bordered on both sides by this internal, external death machine is not the best way to exist.
I agree. We're going to take a quick break. I've got more abolition questions on the other side. Valentine's Day is upon us, and I've got love on the brain. Love for books. Duh, of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind the scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to tracythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. All right, we're back. More abolition questions as promised. Do you think that the current United States carceral system or the world of your book's carceral system is better for abolitionist causes? Like, do you think it's easier to be an abolitionist here and now, or do you think it would be easier to be an abolitionist in the world of your book? Yes or no?
It's an interesting question. I think that the hype. Okay, so I like these questions. They make me like drill into like ideas that I think I haven't really had to talk about.
Oh, good.
Chain Gang All Stars is like a blood sport, which is paid for money. A big conceit besides the fact of that is the non-hiding of the violence that America's administering.
Yes.
A big part. So that's a huge conceit because a big part of the violence of these systems is keeping it from our eyes, right? And so I think that in our world, a huge challenge is getting people to even buy into the evil that's happening right behind the comfort of these amenities we have. Right. It's like right behind the door, people are being slaughtered over there. But it's like, wait, I got this nice couch, right over there. And I mean, and I think that part of my sort of general argument as an author is that as we're enjoying these amenities and these comforts, these it's like a wall of fires inching closer and closer. We see it in these mass shootings that happen every week now. Mm-hmm. We see it in these increase in police extrajudicial executions of citizens and non-citizens. We see it all over the place. And so I think that it's actually harder here because it's so so it can be invisible if you don't care to look. Yeah. It's getting harder to be invisible because of the great work of abolitionists and organizers and the internet and phones or whatever. And people, it's getting harder, but you can kind of, don't ask, like, hear no evil, see no evil kind of thing. I think in the world of Chain Gang, because the actual death is becoming so present, it's perhaps a little bit easier. But I also think there's a challenge that comes with like this sort of desensitization that happens for those people where like they fully embrace the idea that I think we've all implicitly agreed to, which is that once you do a certain kind of crime, it's okay for any bad thing to happen to you.
Right.
It's okay for you to be a slave, as we know, like slavery being explicitly protected by the Constitution in the case of quote unquote criminals. So like, I think it's hard in both ways. I would say, I guess, to give grace to like myself and others and all of us, it's harder here because of the invisibility.
I mean, that's why I asked the question, because as I was reading the book, I was like, feels like it would be easier because you have something easy to hold up. Like these people are being killed right in front of us. But then I also think about in the world of the book, people who did not commit crimes that have them incarcerated for 25 years or more, or were not convicted of crimes who had them incarcerated for 25 years or more. They're in prison, regular, like we know it now, right?
Yeah.
And you can make the choice to leave or not. Yeah. But you can make the choice to leave regular prison if you qualify for Chain Gang or not. You could choose to stay and serve out your term. And so there still is the invisibility of those other people who are incarcerated, right? Like those people still exist in the world.
Right. They still exist. They're still being tortured, as all people who are in prison are being tortured. And some of them are like in like someone like the character Hendrik Singer. He's in the Auburn, a reimagining of the Auburn system, which was a real system. And so he's in a prison where has 24-hour silence enforced all the time when we first meet him. And so he's like, it's kind of like our current prison, but like enhanced. Some people are in more like, as you said, like regular prisons and they opt out, but they're also getting tortured in new ways, which again, this because the way the world is, that's what happens. They find new technologies and people get tortured in new ways all the time. And so, but I also think that, again, part of my sort of, I guess, the implicit argument with Chain Gang is like, it is a consumer sport, but also it's almost hard not to hear about the extrajudicial murder of people at this point.
Right. I think this is a spoiler, so I don't want to talk about the influencer too much. As you mentioned the technology, there's this thing in the book called The Influencer, and I don't want to say more about it because reading the revelation of it was like a really not enjoyable, but like it's a very like important part of the book for me as a reader. I was like, whoa. So I don't want to say too much about what it is and how it came to be, but kind of generally, how did that idea come to you?
Yep.
And and rolling it out in the way that you did?
That's another. I appreciate. First of all, I appreciate the spoiler consciousness because even I don't know how much I mind. I think it's fine.
I know you don't mind probably, but I mind because if someone ruined that part for me as a reader, I would be like, "What the fuck?"
No, I'm actually I'm very spoiler conscious. I'm one of the people who like do not like spoilers, so I appreciate it. But I think I could talk about it. I could say that generally, pain, physical, mental, is a big part of this book.
Yeah,
and how you administer that is a big part of the carceral system at large. But and how do you control human control is a lot of what prisons are, right? And so pain is a huge aspect of that. And there's all these versions of suffering that I think that people have that it's not a gun to the head. So it's like, it's great then, whether it's a taser or macing people or just breaking their bones and not stopping their hearts. And I think the influence is sort of a technological culmination of that kind of thinking. We have this technology, we have these people we have to control, let's do whatever. But also, in terms of the rollout, which again, I appreciate you seeing it that way because it is that. That's why revision is so key for me because I might get all the way halfway through the book before I realize, oh wait, this is actually an important item. Or I might get 100 pages in before I even know a character like Simon Kraft is going to be in the book for sure. And then I'm like, okay, this item is so important. Now I need a background about this item. And that's also like, to me, like I really like seeing how my life gets folded into books, even though I sort of resent the thing when people say when something bad happens to an author, they're like, well, don't worry, at least you can write about it. I kind of resent that.
Never heard that, but that's so fucked.
All the time. Your dad's dying, like, well, at least you could write about it.
Oh no.
But that said, sometimes they're right, I guess. Because so my dad really through just before pandemic, my dad died passed right a couple of months after the first book, like that summer. But he was sick for a long time, which kind of like was like kind of the impetus between like making Friday Black happen at that moment.
Okay.
And he did chemo. And one of there's all these different horrors of chemo that people know about. And one of them, and that happened to him, was like really, really bad neuropathy. And if people don't know, it's sort of like nerve pain that can cause like inflammation, a bunch of different things. Sometimes myelins could be whatever, nerve stuff. And it can end up being that you're just in pain all the time, which ended up being his situation. And I think I already was thinking about these different things that were trapped, and then I started, and then because I was his proxy. I was the one to help, like, the main person for whatever. I got really interested in trying to like heal this neuropathy. Basically, I had him taking THCT, and he's not the kind of person to ever do that. This is a Ghanaian lawyer, you know what I mean? And all this type of stuff. But anyway, I'm Googling and trying to learn, asking my friends and getting like holistic stuff, going to a pain management doctor, whatever. And so in some ways, I had already thought of it, but I started really thinking about it after that happened. And so, or not after that happened, because this is years. You don't have to think about it. It's in your soul already. Yeah. But by the time I got to the place where I needed this kind of item, I had like a background for it, just like in my bones by this at that point. And so that's part of the origin of that stuff.
Okay. When you read the book, people, this will make so much more sense. I have chills.
It'll be a lot clearer later.
Yeah, you're gonna have to read the book now and then come back and listen to the episode again, because this will all make more sense for you. I promise. We're protecting your reading enjoyment, your reading pleasure. Okay. In the book, you have footnotes. We talked about them briefly. Most of the footnotes are factual details about incarceration, incarcerated people. Some of the footnotes are building elements, detail enhancing. This is the second book I've read this month that had footnotes in a novel. What is up? What's the vibe? Why do you want them? Why include them?
What was the other one?
Totally different book. It was My Government Means to Kill Me by Rashid Newson. And but it was also kind of, I think of your work, I don't know, do you think your work's satirical?
I'm sure it kind of is, I guess.
Okay, so his book is similar. It's like, it was kind of satirical, but he also had them and used them in a similar way. But he was writing about everyday, or he was writing about real public figures. So like Bayard Rustin's in his book, Fred Trump is in his book, Larry Kramer's in his book. So he kind of was like putting footnotes in to let us know who these people were. Used in a different way, but it was just like two books back to back that were fiction that had footnotes. So I'm just really curious about why you wanted to have them.
This would be in the UK edition, the Waterstones UK edition of the book. They had me write an essay about some aspect, and I think the footnotes are one of many like very noticeable things about the book.
Yeah.
And to be honest, was really, 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 really hesitant, but because I don't like footnotes in my novels.
I love footnotes. I've never had them in a novel before Rashid's book and now yours.
They're in Oscar Wilde. And I saw them in the Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde. And they were dope, though. They were great. But I think for me, I want to do something different. You know, me and the writer just mentioned, we're not in cahoots or whatever. So, but we're on a similar time, though. We're just feeling the vibes, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that so the reason I'm against them, as I said, or am hesitant about them, is that they inherently sort of disrupt the narrative dream thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm big on like keeping you locked into this stream. That feels like a core tenet of my whole shit or whatever. And so just the act of, moving my eye feels very disruptive and kind of like aggressive to me. Mm. But first, there's so much stuff going on in this book that I wanted, but also I even though maybe it would have been impossible anyways, I wanted to be like categorically impossible to not understand this book as being about something.
Yeah.
I remember I was in PT. I was doing, my back was all messed up during pandemic, and still it's kind of funny. If you see me fidgeting, that's why. And I was talking about Squid Game to one of the like junior PTs who was like helping me whatever that day. And he's like, yeah, and I was acting like how he thought about it. He was a younger kid. He's like 20 something. And he was basically like, yeah, it's cool. Like people getting killed for blah, blah, they want money. I'm like, but like, you know, and basically if you can believe, I don't know if you've seen Squid Game or not.
I haven't. I was too scared.
Squid Game is very, very, very overtly and obviously to me, sort of a commentary on like capitalistic capitalist culture, basically. And for him, that was completely lost on him. Completely. Because he was so, not enamored, but like attracted to or engaged with the violence of it.
Okay.
And so for me, I wanted that to be impossible. This book has pretty serious violence, and I'm also myself pretty squeamish. Like, I if you can believe that, I
don't know. I read the chainsaw story. That's not Finkelstein 5.
Finkelstein 5,
yeah.
Yeah, but the actual chainsaw is off screen in that story. The chainsawing, rather.
It's in my mind. It was in my imagination.
In the end, it's pretty raw violence. And I mean, I got people eating people in that book, the first book. Like, it's very rough. But shows I like Squid Game and Attack on Titan, I struggle because it's so brutal. But yeah, I want it to be impossible for someone to not see that this is about something. This is like connected to something else. Also, I have this thing about like in movies where like someone just gets killed and it's like whatever. Right. I wanted an opportunity to be like every person matters, or they're a person rather. At least they're a person. And Footnotes gave me a chance to do that. It also gave me a chance to be like, this is like maybe more like of a meta thing, but sometimes as like an artist, I feel somewhat constrained by like the linear nature of prose. The same reason why I think poets are like they're so willing to employ the white space and movement of words, whereas I kind of don't have that ability to, or especially like say like in music, if I was making a song, I could pan from there's a certain linearity that exists in prose that sometimes I think formally in terms of like that ambition, I want to push back against that in some way. And so the footnotes, that's the most exciting part for me, because there's one footnote that's my favorite, where something's happening and then something happens down there and it's like ding ding and it's like an effect that has occurred that I can't talk about because it would ruin it. But like, it's just give me a chance to do like shit I hadn't really seen other people do is like this easy version of saying it. But yeah.
You mentioned the violence and being kind of squeamish, and a friend of mine asked me if this book was super violent, and I kind of had to pause because it is, but it isn't, or if it is, it isn't. That didn't stick with me. The violence part didn't stick with me. It gets a little more violent towards the end, but in the beginning, I don't know. I think you handle it with a lot of. There's not a question. I don't know. I just think you handle it well.
It is a violent book, though. Like
it's violent, like in theory, but it's like you said, like off screen, sort of. Though we do see it. I don't know. It doesn't. It wasn't like descriptions of the spear goes in and like I don't know. It didn't. I wasn't.
It's mostly not that. There's a couple of big set pieces, if you want to call them that do have like. Then the knife was in his neck type
There's
shit.
a few moments.
But for me, the reason, and again, I appreciate that that's the sentiment or feeling that you had. I think it's because you can tell me being squeamish makes me like follow through. I follow through with caring about it. Because actually, you know what? Even I get caught up in the fun of the action of describing a physical thing precisely. Even if it's just running, it's really hard to do on text.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I like the challenge in the of describing choreography. She moved her arm back. She pulled it forward, and then now the hammer's pulling it forward because the momentum. I like that type of stuff. But I care about even the first kid who gets murdered I care about them, and the footnotes help show that. The character's response to it helps show it. The act of killing is not glorified meaninglessly. So I hope that that's what comes through, that even if there's violence, there's care. And for me, it's like, because there is a version of like an aversion to violence that like can stupefy you into thinking everything is sweet, and it's not.
Right.
And like, because shit is not. And so that's kind of why for me, I have to employ the violence, because I'm like talking about a very, very violent thing.
Yeah.
And I also understand how people's minds are. And you have to sort of employ that energy, that visceral energy and almost sew it into the institution that's doing it. A lot of the books, for me, it starts off with a big set piece that is pretty violent.
Yeah.
And I'm almost taking that energy and like trying to like sew through the book, sewing it into this institutional system that is actually administering it, because it's a spectacle, but then it's like, who was creating that spectacle? And sometimes we forget the thing. Sometimes we're worried about this particular officer's name. It's like, no, this is the whole thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of my job is like making that link indistinguished, like impossible to miss.
Right. We're running out of time, but we cannot not talk about this part of the book. I've totally like saved it for the end, I guess. But one of the things that came to me, I don't know if you actually wrote this because it's in my notes or if I just extrapolated this, but there's this vulnerability of the characters who are on the chain, whether it's Loretta Thurwar or Hurricane Stax or any of them, all of them, where there's this vulnerability about like trying to carve out a life on the brink of death. And to me, like as I was reading it, it was sort of a metaphor for like racism or sexism, right? That it's like you're trying to be alive, or even just like being alive in America with all the guns. It's like you're trying to be alive on the brink of like the next terrible thing. But what you've given us is this great sort of love story also in the middle of the book. And it's between, is it a spoiler? I don't think so.
No. I think they say it right in the beginning.
I think it's really early.
Just who was between?
Yeah.
No, it's not a spoiler
Okay,
at all.
I don't think it's a spoiler. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Between Thurwar and Stax, and it's two women. And I'm wondering sort of about you writing that as a man. Did you have trepidation? And also, you also have a non-binary character, which I think you kind of have in there. I love that everyone just uses the correct pronouns and it's not a thing. And like, that was just really enjoyable to read. Like, there's no like, oh, oops, whatever. It's just like, they're non-binary. They're great. I don't know how to pronounce that character's name. I have to be honest. Sia. Okay. Great. Thank you. I had a few versions in my head going, but I'm just curious about you writing about these sort of like queer love stories and these characters who maybe have different identities from you. And then also that tack on to the end of that is, well, never, I'll ask the question at the end. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like I said, I started with Third War. I thought it was going to be a short story collection, and for some reason, I had like this woman in the eye of the arena right from the beginning. But I think that was is there's a certain way that a woman, but in particular a Black woman, is going to be both like beloved but also hated, like glorified but consumed.
It's giving Serena Williams. That's who I was picturing as Thor.
I was gonna say like there's some things, that's exactly what I was gonna say, but like there's something Serena Williams understands that even LeBron James can't understand. Where like you're totally dominant but also like disrespected that by the same thing you're dominant of. And there's a certain kind of power we give a man who's very dominant where it's more like absolute, and even I mean, of course LeBron deals with a whole bunch of bullshit too, but like this is a whole layer of it that I can perceive, even though I'll never exactly feel it, that I can see with someone like Serena or Simone Biles, like we just said.
Yeah.
She's going to deal with a whole bunch of shit that is just completely unfair. You're completely dominant. You're the best ever. And there's all this other narrative about like something.
Right.
And I think that's always like, I feel like Black women in particular experience that. And so that felt like important, I think. But yeah, I didn't even have to think about that because it was from the beginning I had that. In terms of Stacks and their partnership, I needed someone who like I wanted the partnership to be truly equal. And I also knew that I wanted them to like try to install a change in their chain or their team or whatever. And I needed someone who understood their war situation completely.
I see.
At first I was going to have it be a man, actually, I think. But then it was like, it just felt such a fault. It felt so false. I was like, he doesn't understand her situation at all. Even if he is a link on the chain. And because of where I felt like the book was going, I needed someone to fully understand Third War. And it just, if it was a man, it would have felt false to me. Because like, even they would have understood so much, but they would have been like inherent, like, you don't really get my situation. It would have been, it would have been true.
Right.
So I think I needed that like 100%, like they need to get each other thing. And then in terms of like feeling comfortable with it, I don't know. I think it was sort of like, I've written women before, but in this case, it's sort of like, these are sort of capable people in a really difficult situation. And I just try to like, usually I try to think of like, well, but they have their own sort of dispositions that I'm aware of and I create, I guess. And I just try to think of like, what would a capable, smart person in this situation do? Right. And that's usually what it is. And in terms of someone like Sai, I'm like, they're just in a tough situation. They're just a person in a tough situation. They happen to be non-binary, but it isn't their, like, that's not who they're CIA, not like non-binary person, I guess, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And so they're a very particular person. And that's kind of how I thought about it. I guess that could be said for Third War and Stacks and every character, because there's a whole
there's so many, and they're so specific though. I mean, I think that's what you're saying. It's like the specificity of it for you is what got you kind of able to write them. Yeah.
I just connected to them, and I connected to a lot of them. I mean, Third War and Stacks in particular is probably my favorite characters I've ever written. And after a while you kind of know them and they sort of tell you who they are pretty good.
Yeah. I have to ask you about the title. Not necessarily like why you picked it. I think it's a great one. I have to ask you about having 2 dashes in the title. Did you ever think about that? Were you ever like, maybe we shouldn't, maybe we should? I feel like titles are so weird and like publishers have so many opinions, and it just really stood out to me like as I type it into my spreadsheets and stuff.
double dash, double hyphen. I think it's my vengeance on the world.
Okay.
I know how to use hyphens. My name is Adjei-Brenyah. Every time I go to a hotel, I have to guess when I'm trying to get Wi-Fi, if they put the hyphen or not, because some people just don't do that. And so now if you want to type the book, you have to put 2 hyphens, because I put hyphens on everything on my whole life. And now it's my revenge story.
I love it. I think I asked you this last time, but I'm going to ask you again. How do you like to write? How many hours a day? How often? Music or no? Snacks or no? Beverages,
I remember
rituals?
That. Yeah. I remember you asking about the snacks. When I'm really tapped in, 2 hours, or I mean, I'm actually a chaotic, all over the place person. I think I've been saying this has appeared less so, but when I'm really tapped in though, and I was for like probably like in pandemic, I had maybe like a good year of almost doing this at least 4 or 5 days a week.
Okay.
2 hours or 1,000 words, whichever one comes first.
Okay.
But that comes after, like, hopefully I've meditated, gone to the gym, meditated, then I go start working, and then I eat after I work. So it's like this goal that's like gonna free me to like. I like food a lot, and so I'm like trying to get to that place. I'm not a snack and music. I can't listen to music while I'm writing, but a lot of times I'll listen to music on this like very obsessive. I have a lot of obsessive tendencies, and like I can pace around and listen to a song for like no lie like 4 hours, one song on loop. It's pretty bad sometimes. Whoa. And it's like not the best thing, but I think it helps me. I don't know what it's doing, but it's like trying to get, I think acts like a flow state type of thing. And then snacks, I feel like my snack question last time was boring and whack, and it's gonna be boring and whack again.
Damn.
Shit.
I feel like you had a green tea place that you used to go to like
I did have a tea spot in Syracuse.
Yeah. Yes, I was gonna say Syracuse, but then I was like, you don't remember that. But yes, Syracuse.
I do. No, that was great. Now I'm back in the Bronx though. Oh, there's a spot called Semicolon that makes really good sandwiches. I've written there, but I can't say like I've done it consistently enough. Because
isn't that a bookstore also?
Yeah, but that's in not out here in New York.
Oh.
Yeah, I think.
Got it. Yeah, it is. I think it's in Chicago.
And then I was in pandemic. Like a lot of it, like the latter half was like pandemic mode. So it was like what you got in your crib is what you got in your crib.
Right. I see. And then I didn't ask you this question because I added it to the group of questions since the last time I talked to you. But what's the word you can never spell correctly on the first try?
Silhouette.
Ooh, what a good one. No one's ever said that before, but that's an impossible
Silhouette's
word.
Fucked up.
Yeah. Okay, you mentioned this briefly at the beginning, and I wanted to. I did have this written down to talk to you about later, which is how has bringing this book into the world compared for you for Friday Black? I don't know what kind of person you are, if you are, feel that kind of pressure or not, if you feel the excitement of your audience waiting for this book, like what if you feel a difference between like marketing and PR for this book, like what has it been like? Because Friday Black was a hit, but it was your debut, so nobody knew you. I mean, some people knew you, but like nobody world didn't know you.
Nobody knew me.
You were a known quantity to your family and friends, but like
somewhat,
you kind of burst on this. I mean, I feel like Friday Black really like burst on the scene, and now here you are coming back. So what's that been like?
I feel like I'm trying to like find the concise way to answer because it's a big question.
Yeah.
Because again, like I sort of hinted, if I think about like what's changed from my job, this book has been my like best friend, like confidant for 7 years.
Right.
And in that 7-year period, like pandemic happened. I finished MFA. I taught as a professor. I stopped teaching as a professor, at least like for right now, even though I'm going to go back hopefully very soon. My father passed away. I've like went from going on a plane twice in my adult life to I think I'm about to be gold on Delta.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Congratulations.
I'm silver right now, but I think next time for sure, next year I'll get gold. And like my life has changed dramatically in terms of, so I feel the interest, like I think it's pretty clear that more people care. Just by like a fact of a lot of people found, connected with Friday Black. Booksellers, as they did before, have really embraced this book, and they really embraced my first book. And I think they're really why that bursting on your scene that you described happened. But some things are the same. My material life is the same. I don't feel, that's not true. Things are different now. But I do have a sense that I care that people like say my name when people are like books they like. I see it. And I don't have too much pressure because like I said before, I know I get my best swing. So it is what it is. The ball's in the air. I feel that feeling of like, I swung, I'm looking at the ball. Maybe it'll go foul, maybe it'll go out the park, but I know I tried. Like I know I swung. I didn't just watch the pitch, you feel me?
Right.
And so I think in that sense, I feel a sense of acceptance with whatever. But of course you're afraid because when you try something for a long time, you hope that people receive it well. You hope that they care for it. It's like you had this thing, like I said, that it was just yours and now it belongs to the world slowly yet surely. And so I hope people fuck with it. I think I've been, but yeah, it's a little scary because there is a big difference, but I actually can't tell because the first time it was so new. Like, I think going from like 0 followers to 1,000 followers feels more intense than going from, I don't know how many followers I have, but like, let's say 6,000 to 8,000 or I don't know, whatever. Right. I think that the first time felt more intense. There was times with my first book where something good would happen and I would be like in a fetal position in my apartment in Syracuse. Cause I just like literally like anxiety, like pound, you know. Now I think I'm getting a little bit better at letting shit roll off my back and being like, that's a great thing that happened, but let's keep going. And so it's more, there's more, and I can perceive that it's more. I'm very grateful for that. I think my publicist and everybody at Pantheon, I hope, is excited. I don't know though. I never ask. Like I've never, to this day, I don't know how many Friday Black has sold, because that stuff is all kind of tough for me. I think it's not good for my mental health. So anyways, that's all to say. It's a very long answer, but what I'm trying to say is it's been dope. I'm super grateful. It's scary too, but that's how life goes.
You didn't ask, but I think it's a home run. I don't think it's a foul ball. I think that people, when I read the book, as soon as I finished, I was like, people are going to fucking freak. I cannot wait to talk about this with people. I just think there's so much in it to talk about. Like, I think it's going to be one of those books where people are like, you have to get it too so we can discuss. Like, there's just so much there. For people who have read Chain Gang All-Stars, what are some other books you would recommend to them that are in conversation with it?
We do this till we free us.
Yes.
Our prison's obsolete. How the Word is Passed. I'm trying to think of an actual fiction one. Mars Room.
Oh, we did that on this book club in the first year also.
Slaughterhouse-Five, in terms of like not being afraid to move into like the weird craziness, but also it's about something real. That's what comes off the top of my head.
That's good. That's good. What do you hope people will keep in mind as they read this book?
That we are the ones who make the world, and it can be anything.
Okay, last question. If you could have one person, dead or alive, read this book, who would you want it to be?
It's going to be obvious or maybe a sad one. I would want my dad to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, this is Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah, friend of the pod, back again 5 years later almost. Chain Gang All-Stars. It's out in the world. You can get it wherever you got your books. Who reads the audio?
It's 4 people. It's a good one.
A cast. Okay.
I haven't listened to it. It's pretty fire.
I'm going to have to listen to it. Get it wherever you get your books. I promise you, listeners, people are going to be talking about this book. If you want to be part of the conversation about a buzzy book this year, this is the one. I have heard many people who I trust and love this book. I loved this book. So I don't know how else to endorse it, but check it out. It's so good. I'm so excited about it. Nana, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Congratulations again. 5 years. Look at us again. I'm so grateful.
Look at us. It's like the Hot Wings meme.
I feel like did you say that in our last interview too? I feel like you said that for some reason. Yeah, you did.
It's my only bit.
I might be capping, but that just unlocked a memory for me.
Okay,
anyways.
well, it's possible. Well, anyways, this
much.
Was so great. Thank you. And everyone else, we will see you in the stacks. All right, y'all, that does it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you again to Nana for being our guest. I'd also like to say a quick thank you to Josie Cowles for helping to make this conversation possible. Don't forget our May book club pick is This Boy We Made, a memoir of motherhood, genetics, and facing the unknown by Taylor Harris. Nicole Chung will be our guest for that discussion on May 31st. If you love the show and you want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks to join the Stacks Pack. And make sure you're subscribed to The Stacks wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you're listening through Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave us a rating and a review. For more from The Stacks, follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram and TikTok, and at The Stacks Pod _ on Twitter. And check out our website, thestackspodcast.com. This episode of The Stacks was edited by Christian Duenas with production assistance from Lauren Tyree. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Takira Gis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.